We're all under stress, and it can really affect both our minds and our bodies. Whether it's paying our bills, difficult people at work, or family conflicts, everyone is affected by stress. I'd like to tell you about a remarkable healing method called EFT, or Emotional Freedom Techniques. It can help you right now with some of the stress in your life. I'd also like to share with you the stories of some of the millions of people it has helped deal with their own problems, and also the research that is establishing EFT as an evidence-based intervention.
EFT works for reducing the knots in your stomach around life-changing decisions from this big to this big.
Authentic self-connection.
EFT is great to lose weight.
I stopped smoking with EFT.
Addictions of all kinds.
I used to have panic attacks. But thanks to EFT, not anymore.
Lifelong depression.
Insomnia.
Releasing fear.
EFT helped my kids with ADD.
Test anxiety.
EFT inspired and supported me through breast cancer.
Fibromyalgia.
Diabetes.
High blood pressure.
Migraine headaches.
Sports performance issues.
Attachment disorders. Removing artist's block.
And it also helped me to understand a terrible water phobia I had. Now I love water.
Hi, as a therapist, I have been looking for the silver bullet all my life, and I have found it with EFT.
The free EFT manuals have been downloaded from the EFT website over 1.3 million times, and today EFT is used by an estimated 6 million people worldwide. EFT uses elements of two well-established psychotherapy methods, exposure therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy. To these it adds the ingredient of the stimulation of the body's acupressure points. This sends calming signals to the parts of the brain involved in responding to fear. When we're anxious or afraid, we have what's called the fight or flight response, which sends cascades of stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol streaming through our bodies. EFT calms that fight or flight response. The acupoint stimulation sends soothing signals throughout our bodies.
So this is Pinko, and she's what they call a chili rose tarantula, and I have it on good authority from Leanne that she's very kind. I have to say, just being this close to her, I'm actually shaking, my knees are knocking. I've reached out a finger to touch her, so let's see if after the EFT then maybe I might be able to hold her in the palm of my hand.
Oh, she's turning to look at you.
She's turning to look at me, oh God. Scared of how I'll react.
Scared of how I react.
Scared of how I'll react.
It worked for Monica. Could it work for me?
And she's there.
I've been afraid of spiders for 25 years, and now I've got a tarantula walking across my hand.
How does it feel?
She's so gentle, it feels amazing.
The acupoints used in EFT are ones that human beings under stress touch naturally every day. In fact, they're so obvious, we don't even realize we're soothing our anxiety by touching them. The way EFT reduces stress has been the subject of much research. More than 50 researchers have been involved in studying EFT in over 7 countries. EFT studies have been published in more than 15 different peer-reviewed medical and psychology journals, including several published by the American Psychological Association. One study looked at 216 healthcare professionals like doctors, nurses, psychotherapists, chiropractors, and alternative medicine practitioners. It measured their anxiety and depression levels before and after a one-day EFT workshop, and found that their psychological distress decreased by about 45%. One of the most dramatic examples of EFT success comes from the stories of war veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. There are an estimated 500,000 veterans who've come home from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan with PTSD. EFT has been used very successfully to help them recover.
It was just the terrible smell of just decomposing body parts. And
so you're taking the helmet out of the bag
and
having to actually clean out the remains of his tissue that were in the How are you feeling as you describe this now?
I'm feeling pretty neutral. I already did some tapping on this. I'm feeling quite at peace.
In one randomized controlled trial, veterans who got regular medical and psychological care were compared to a group that got EFT in addition to regular care. The results were remarkable. The symptoms of the EFT group dropped into the normal range, while the control group was unchanged. EFT's success with veterans has led to the creation of a support network of life coaches and therapists, offering free or low-cost EFT sessions to veterans and their families. It's called the Iraq Vets Stress Project, and more than 100 EFT providers are available to work with veterans who contact them. EFT isn't only useful for illness, it can also help peak performers. A study of championship basketball players at a major university randomized the teams into two groups, after measuring the number of accurate free throws each player could perform. One group then received 15 minutes of EFT, the other received a lesson on basketball tips and techniques written by a famous coach. The two groups were then tested again, and those who had received EFT performed 38% better than the control group.
Jorge Reyes trying to relax himself. I don't know if that's acupuncture, acupressure.
One reason EFT is so effective is its effect on your body's main stress hormone, cortisol. Cortisol is intimately involved with the fight or flight response, regulating many of your body's systems like those that raise and lower your blood sugar levels, your heart rate, and your breathing. A randomized controlled trial compared EFT to regular psychotherapy and also just simply relaxing. EFT stimulated the body to reduce cortisol production by 25%. U.S. congressional committees have requested that I testify on EFT's effectiveness, and several congressmen have written letters of support. EFT has also been the subject of scores of stories in newspapers, magazines, on TV shows, and large websites. I believe EFT has as great a potential to revolutionize psychology and medicine as any other great advance over the last millennium. Please visit the EFT website and see stories written by people like you, and find out how they used EFT to reduce their stress and to lead happier lives. You'll also find certified practitioners, EFT workshops, books, DVDs, and a search engine that will allow you to quickly find other people who've used EFT to solve the same problems that are bothering you. You can download the EFT mini manual for free and start using EFT yourself in just a few minutes. Love yourself enough to release those old stuck patterns and claim emotional freedom.
Welcome to the Veterans Hour, a monthly offering by Veterans for Peace, Chapter 109, the Rachel Corrie chapter in Olympia, Washington. I'm Dennis Mills and a founding member of the chapter. I'm also a Vietnam-era Army veteran and an accredited independent VA claims agent who regularly uses emotional freedom techniques, EFT, with veterans. And you've just seen a short introduction of EFT by Dr. Dawson Church, author of The Genie in the Genes. I really believe tonight's program is the most important program that you will see in 2013. 20% of the soldiers who have been deployed in the past 6 years have PTSD. That's over 300,000. Thankfully, thousands of those soldiers returning from the battlefields of Iraq and Afghanistan with PTSD have been treated with EFT, emotional freedom techniques. And studies have shown that those who have been helped with EFT have their symptoms of PTSD rapidly diminish as the intensity of those traumatic combat memories drops away. Once those memories don't hurt anymore, the stress response is reduced and the body has a chance to heal. Tonight, you will learn how our guests are making a difference in the lives of veterans and their loved ones. by their use of emotional freedom techniques, EFT. And I want to welcome the panel that we have. I'm going to introduce two people, and then I'm going to ask Lynn if she would introduce her friends too. Lil Mazer is an EFT coach and a veteran stress project volunteer, a 27-year veteran, retired lieutenant commander in the United States Coast Guard, as well as a beginning in the Army as well. So we do have an affinity. Welcome, Lil.
Thank you so much, Dan.
And also with us is Lynn Waring. And Lynn is an EFT Skype coach. And you'll notice the term we're using, Skype coach, because these people do not have to be in your living room or you have to go to their offices. Skype coach. And also, Lynn has been a founder of the Warrior Wellness Project, and we'll learn more about this, the EFT life skills for soldiers. Welcome, Lynn.
Well, thanks, Dennis. We're really happy to be here.
And I'm glad you're here. And Lynn, I'm going to ask if you'll introduce your awesome team that's here.
Well, absolutely. We actually have a group of crew of about 22 volunteers that are working now. We've been together for about 6 months. On my right here is Donna Bernston. She was instrumental in bringing us to the Joint Base Lewis McChord. She brought us up to help with the spouses. They were experiencing a lot of stress, and Donna was trying to get the group together, and it was really hard to get folks out of their houses. I know Donna will have something to say about that later, but that's the reason why we came, because she called. And next to her is Llewellyn Jones from Olympia, Amanda Myers over to your right, Yaela Edinger, of course there's Lil, and Marina Curran are some of my crew.
And all of these people have a background of having been trained in EFT and participate with you. And we'll learn more about that. But for our viewing audience, EFT may be a strange term. EFT or EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, plural. Well, help us. What are we talking about when we say EFT? And I'll leave this open as sort of popcorn. Any of you are free to drop in.
Tapping. Tapping. Tapping on acupuncture points.
On acupuncture.
Sometimes they call it soft acupuncture because it's needleless. You're actually focusing on the meridian points on the various parts of the body, the crown chakra, and up in here, all around the eye. These help to draw the energy and help to get rid of negative emotions.
Well, in the term, it says emotional freedom techniques. What are we talking about when we say emotional freedom?
A lot of people don't realize, much like a cell phone that's constantly on roam, when we have an experience that overwhelms the senses, basically EFT uses a 4,000-year-old technology, which is our meridians. And when your senses are overwhelmed, you get stuck, basically, in that moment. And a lot of times what happens is the body, biologically, physiologically, doesn't know the difference. If it was 20 years ago or 10 years, one of the things that really impresses me about EFT is it doesn't matter how long the condition has been there. Although in this case, we apply EFT for veterans, because that's my passion, that's the passion of a lot of people around the table here. EFT has a very broad application. It's used for any emotional, mental, or physical discomfort. So there's many, many applications. There's many disciplines that apply EFT. So biologically, physiologically, your body doesn't know the difference between an experience that happened 20 years ago and this moment. You get stuck in the fight, flight, or flee response of the body system being overwhelmed.
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm from the Vietnam era, and PTSD is the leading claim right now by the Veterans Administration. And we think this should be Iraq, It should be Afghanistan. Yes, that's added to it. But the leading issue is PTSD, not just the physical problems that have happened with an aging population, but PTSD, and particularly untreated PTSD with unwanted memories, unwanted nightmares, flashbacks. And the current wars have only exacerbated this problem because they brought back what was untreated before and made it even worse for them.
It's changed names too, shell shock. I mean, PTSD is how it's currently identified, and it's very complex when it comes to veterans. There's a lot of characteristics. EFT, you know, one of the reasons I love it is because it is very measurable. It is very effective. With the Veterans Stress Project on our website, stressproject.org, you have the opportunity to look at the research, the robust research that demonstrates the effectiveness of the technique. It's not a soft science.
No, as a matter of fact, on the introductory video by Dawson Church, he talks particularly about some of the studies that he's participated and published in, and that has really gone a long way to say, hey, there's some credibility in this very strange thing. If we were to show our viewing audience, tappers, what we mean by strange, let's do this, because it's sort of like, what on earth are they doing? How does any of this have anything to do with what I'm feeling as a veteran? How does this have anything to do with what my PTSD or the traumatic brain injury have to do? Then, okay, I can see you're tapping on your hand, but then you stopped doing your hand, and then what did you do? You started tapping on your forehead. And you went to the side of the eyes.
That's why usually the first time we tap with folks, we tap on how silly this may appear.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to believe.
And then what's even more uncomfortable is sort of like, no, I'm a waddling duck, you know. And back on the forehead again. And sometimes we have other places that they tap, including the hand and the points there. And Lil, I will mention that I've done this once with a veteran who was very hard to work with. We provide at Veterans for Peace counseling for veterans seeking benefits for their injuries. And some are very, very hard to talk about how injured they've been, particularly the psychological hidden wounds of war.
Well, you asked some pretty specific questions.
We do, and some have a hard time even getting to those questions. We have people that said they took 3 times driving around the block before they felt comfortable enough coming in. And then when I pulled out the paper to see what, from head to toe, what some of their issues were, they almost become catatonic. And then I said, let's do something very silly. I want you to tap on this. Now, realize that I'm from the Army background, and this was talking to a Marine. So I know a jarhead when I see one, you know. And he was typically stereotyped in my book. But after we tapped for a while, he stopped. His shoulder went. Then he took off his cap. And he started talking, probably for the first time in 45 years. And
one of the beauties of the technique is that you don't have to bring the whole horrific memory up. We used to use treatments, and I believe in some places they're still used, where there's implosion and the person is like forced back into that situation. That's very re-traumatizing. But with the emotional freedom techniques and other energy therapies, you only target the surface. You know, they have a headache. Well, connected to that headache is the bundle of nerves that's jangled together, like Lillian was explaining, that gradually become looser, and she's got brain scans that show the brain actually changes when you stimulate these acupressure points as you're bringing up just the surface section of the memory. You don't have to go all the way back to that place in Afghanistan and relive it. You just have to be at the surface, and then because you're locating that place in your brain while you're touching the points, you gradually release the energy and the concentration. the reason people get stuck in trauma, even something that happened back, say, in 1967 or whatever, in Vietnam, you know, a car backfires and it sounds just like the bomb that went off behind you in 67. If that nerve bundle is still there, you're going to react exactly the same way because you're going to, that stimulus is going to take you to that part in your brain and you're going to get stuck there. But if you've had an effective energy treatment like EFT, you know, that's not there anymore. Your brain has changed. And so the car can backfire and it's, hey, it's backfiring.
It backfired.
I don't even know if cars backfire anymore.
And
but
I'm
they
not
used
in the
to.
middle of a, I'm not in the middle of a jungle anymore. You know, I'm really, you know, in our case here in Olympia.
Because your body is designed. It's designed to keep you from dying, right? And there's a difference between a real fear and a perceived fear. You know, we've had this mission creep, so to speak, where there's a lot more perceived fears, like worry. Worry is a perceived fear, you know. So you had mentioned somebody driving around the block 3 times, you know, because maybe they didn't know what it was you were offering. Maybe they didn't know how it might be connected to their benefits. Maybe they didn't know what the outcome was going to be. You know, one thing about the Veteran Stress Project, it's a national program. We can serve vets anywhere. We use Skype, we use phone, we can do we can do it in person. But we have no religious or government affiliation. It's a nonprofit organization. We offer 6 free sessions for veterans. And so another thing I love about EFT is I'm really there to facilitate someone learning the technique for self-application.
Yes.
6 sessions is normally enough to get the individual neutralized, have them comfortable in their own skin so they can step back into their own life.
Now you mentioned the Veterans Stress Project. How did that ever get to be named that way? Why stress?
Well, that's what the body's doing. A lot of people may not realize that when we have a perceived fear, our body physiologically and biologically is reacting to that. And it affects our entire life. It affects our immune system. It affects how we react to others, whether we're reactive or responsive, meaning one's in charge and one's not in charge, you know, reactive or responsive. So, you know, EFT can be applied on many different levels. You know, PTSD is very complex. You know,
Matter of fact, they do have a title called Complex PTSD.
And that's what we normally find with veterans. It's not simple. It's not a single layer. It's multi-layered, you know. So the Veterans Stress Project recognizes that vets are walking forward irregardless of what era. You know, it doesn't matter what era a veteran comes from. If they're a vet, you know, we're there to serve them, and we're there to offer them, you know, 6 free one-on-one sessions.
And this is a project because
there's the Veterans Stress Project. What we ask the veterans to do is to fill out some paperwork and be part of a research study. What we do is we take this research, because EFT is not new. You know, people may just be now being introduced to it, but it's not new. It's been around quite some time, as has the Veterans Stress Project and the research behind it. You know, what Dawson Church aims to do with many other leaders in EFT is to continue to demonstrate the results to veteran service providers so that they can see that this is cost-effective. It is effective. It's statistically significant. It's scientifically based. So it's anonymous and it's confidential when veterans choose to participate. Information doesn't go back to the VA. Information doesn't go anywhere. What we do is we cleanse the data. We hand the data in for the research study so that we can show the numbers.
And as I understand it, that the hope is this project will lead to an approved VA therapy rather than just saying, well, we've approved EMDR for the rapid eye movement, we've approved a lot of psychotropic meds, but this one is not yet approved, and so this study will lead potentially to the approval of that process.
It would be wonderful to see this applied to any veteran service organization, that this be, whether it be a suicide hotline, whether it be any other veteran service that is reaching out to vets as a viable option. There's no drugs involved with it. You know, it's application that is self, you know, that someone can learn and self-apply. irregardless of where they are geographically, as a national program. We can serve any vet.
Very good.
And we have volunteer coaches. Basically, it's a volunteer organization. So all the coaches volunteer their time to serve the vets. It's really
Well, and
a
why don't we
wonderful
talk to a
collaboration.
volunteer? Amanda, why on earth did you get involved? Because I know you're from the Olympia area, and it's an amazing community. How did you get involved in EFT? Where did you hear about it, and how did you go about getting some training to help?
Well, I originally heard about EFT listening to a parenting interview with Bruce Limpton, who's a cellular biologist, and he was talking about how from 0 to 6, we're basically programmed how we kind of live our life, but he also said we don't have to be stuck there, and said there's this amazing tool called EFT. Right then I was hooked. I started, taking whatever I could find online, and went to the first annual Washington Tapping Gathering, which is coming up in just a few weeks.
Yes, as a matter of fact, towards the end of our program here, we'll be showing a clip that Elena Frank has produced on the next gathering, which is coming up very soon, while this program is being aired, as a matter of fact.
And then I went ahead and started my training with Alina and Judith Frost. And through some of my peers, I learned about the Warrior Wellness Project. I knew about the Stress Project already, and the opportunity to be part of it. And I instantly gravitated towards it and got on board. Mm-hmm.
And why did you become involved, good Olympian?
Well, I was just doing an internet search one time, and a couple of years ago, and landed on a YouTube of this person tapping. It was called Tap of the Morning, and it just makes you feel good in the morning. So I tried it, and I loved it, and I started looking for more places where I could learn, and I wound up getting my training in 2011. And the people in the tapping community, I went, these are my people. I love these people, and I love how I feel in my body. And I've had a fair amount of trauma in my life, and I was seeing things change and shift in me. And then, so I decided to get certified, which I just did get my certification in December. And then when I heard about I first heard about the Veterans Stress Project because Dawson Church was one of the people I took my training from. And he talked about that, and my heart just fell open. My dad was a World War II veteran, and he was a Marine in Guadalcanal, and I didn't really know what that meant. He never talked about it. He said nothing happened, but it explains a lot of the strange things that happened in my family. And then the other thing that happened more recently, I have a cousin who was a Vietnam veteran, and he and I were very close as children, and then we started talking more in the last year. He was on a lot of pain meds. He was really afraid that people were out to get him, and he told me about some of the experiences he had had in Vietnam as a helicopter pilot. And he was interested in doing the Veterans Stress Project, but he wasn't, something didn't quite get him over the edge because at the time I gave him Lil's number, and he shot himself about a month ago. So,
and that, it's heartbreaking, isn't it? It's heartbreaking because we know this technique is truly effective, 86% success rate.
Yeah.
If veterans will it's 6 free sessions. Just try it. Just try it. Right?
Yeah.
Llewellyn brings up a great point. When we think about the breadth of it's not just the veterans. It's their spouses. It's their children. It's their parents. It's their siblings. It's their cousins. It's their cousins, right? There's so many people who this touches. So, the veteran, and that's why I take my hats off to Lynn and this group of folks here, because this is just a small sample of the efforts so many people are putting out to reach out to our vets. The spouses support group that Lynn and Donna and Llewellyn and Amanda and Yala and Marina have put a lot of effort towards to reach out to these spouses so that the families of veterans, it's also very well demonstrated that they're affected by their service member. Is that true? Yeah.
And Marina, you're in the Wellness Project as well?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us how you became involved in that.
Oh, I think it was serendipitous. Not that I believe in accidents, but in my own process, I had gone to Amanda and found out about the Warriors Wellness Project through her, and instantly got hooked. And I used to be in private practice as a mental health therapist, and so I already knew about how high the suicide rate was, and I really wanted to give something back.
Excellent. Excellent. Lynn, we're going to pick on you a little bit. You and I have gone through training together with the fabulous Elena Frank.
Indeed.
And then all of a sudden you got involved in working with the Warriors Wellness Project and other type of things. Tell us a little bit about your story, how you got involved. I didn't get to hear this while we were going through the training, but then the more exciting things of what you're doing at Joint Base Lewis McChord.
Sure. Well, I'd love to talk to you about that. Basically, I was in a car accident 10 years ago, traumatic brain injury. My cumulative IQ went from 146 to 85. And for the last 7-8 years, I've been in therapy, rehab, both physical and cognitive. In the last couple of years, I started looking into various energy medicine, and EFT was one of several that I looked at. There are others, the emotion code, the healing code, different kinds of things that are out there. But I happened onto the Stress Project site, and there's a video on there that demonstrates to the ninth degree to me that EFT works to help vets with PTSD. And I have a very, very big heart when it comes to vets. I think everyone has a vet story here about why they're involved. But that just made me sit up in my seat. I was not trained in EFT at this time. I just joined a community group once, and I said to myself, well, I love vets. I think I can find the EFT people in Washington State and get them together with the Army. That's something I know how to do. I'm a community organizer. Now, trying to get anything together with the Army is something it goes a whole new level. Worked with school boards and government and everything else, but the Army, that's a whole nother 9 yards. But what happened was we pulled together some people to talk about working with the vets. We gave them some trauma training, a day of some very in-depth trauma training with 2 national experts. And then we found Donna here on the base up in Lakewood, and she lives in Olympia now. But Donna had asked us to come up and help. And so we have been here since last September, meeting every Thursday. We started out in the Lakewood Public Library, and had 1 or 2, 3 people trickle in. One of our first young men, soldier, came by as Stu May, sitting right next to me. Mayo, Stu Mayo, and. We had a lot of success with Stu and have turned a lot of heads. We're looking now at meeting with people in the various service agencies within the Army. We're going to be meeting with the behavioral health clinic on Monday morning. We'll stop by the family services people and hopefully talk with some of the alcohol and substance abuse people about offering what they're calling now soldier support. They've got clinical support and soldier support, and they're opening up just a little bit to be looking at therapies outside of the mainstream. the mindfulness they've been working on for a number of months now. And they're beginning to open up to see what EFT might be about and if we might be able to offer the same kind of calming effect. And EFT basically is a simple drill. It's a simple little drill that we can teach, easy to teach, easy to learn. Our goal is to have an active duty soldier or a vet learn it for himself or herself and teach it to a buddy in need, or to help save a family, so to speak. We're looking forward to taking this model that we've created of weekly meetings where we provide a demonstration of EFT with a soldier or a spouse from the community might sit in, and then go more deeper into the technique and begin to practice it one-on-one right there in our group. And this has been very beneficial. People come back. They want to see it become part of other programs.
Well, and I understand that you got the ear of one of the chaplains who can open up all kinds of opportunities on post.
Exactly. That young man, his name is Michael Johnson, and he came to us in December and was one of our volunteers. And was it you, Llewellyn, or?
I have never met him.
Oh, it must have been Renee Myers, who's not here, but took him through a trauma during his Vietnam experience, and he was so taken by it. My EFT volunteer offered to meet him in Seattle and tell him more about what EFT could do for him and his work as a chaplain. And she sat down with him, and after about 15 minutes realized that it wasn't what she could do for him, but what he could do for us. And we've met with Michael a number of times now, and he's actually putting together the proposal that we're going to shop around to the various service agencies. We would like to see the clinical staff use an assessment that the Veteran Stress Project has come up with. They have an assessment. They can, the clinical staff can use that to refer a young man or woman to come to our lunchtime EFT groups.
And Lynn brings up an important point. You know, the data we collect that we ask the veteran to voluntarily participate in is the same data that's collected by the VA, so that we are comparing apples to apples, so that we can demonstrate results.
Well, as a matter of fact, one of the scales that I use with the veterans coming in on PTSD is the PCL test.
The PCL.
And the PCL test is if you have a score of above 49, the likely indication is, according to the 17 self-administered questions, is that you most likely have PTSD. And I have people that are 72 and above there and untreated, or if treated, it's self-treated, and that can lead to other problems. But we're talking veterans, but veterans aren't the only ones affected by the traumatic injuries that are received by the veteran. Close ones to them, significant others, spouses, children.
There's a lot of clips on the Veteran Stress Project site that will demonstrate, that will show where couples had come in for treatment, and so it gives the perspective of the spouses and the member.
Yeah, and I've seen one where the spouse was scared for her own life.
Absolutely.
Because the husband was packing, and when had some problems, she was scared.
Well, and you know, you send your spouse away, and what you get back, you don't give up on the love. You don't give up on the person you knew. You know what has come back a lot of times. There, inside of there, is the person who you love. So you don't give up just because there's characteristics. And that's what we find, right? And that's what, you know, ideally, you know, we want to get to veterans before they self-destruct, before they start tearing down the relationship or start tearing down their social structure. Or so, you know, this really is a technique that doesn't just, it doesn't go away for a week. This will neutralize the destructive characteristics of who they're not, of who they're not.
Now, Donna, you're not a soldier in the significant sense that we see soldiers, but you do soldier on, particularly when it comes. All spouses. Tell us about your experience with EFT and how you had this whole desire, heart, vision for how to help spouses and their children.
My husband's been in the military for 14 years, and therefore we've been through most of this succession of the wars. And when he came back in '06, he came back a very different person. And like Lil said, you don't give up on the spouse. I mean, we were together long before he joined the military and became a warrior. And I knew the guy that I fell in love with was in there. I just haven't seen him in a while. And I know we're all going through that on post. I've been to a lot of trauma groups, a lot of spouses. I mean, the spouses, I think we hide in our houses, you know, and our children, we're all affected by this greatly, gravely. And I don't think we know what to do or where to go for help. I've seen women who are just absolutely catatonic. And so my heart has been in helping the spouses and trying to get the word out, trying to get people involved. And Dennis actually is the person who introduced me to EFT and introduced me to a bunch of these lovely ladies. And once I found that, the first time that I did it, I noticed a clarity that I hadn't had in my mind in so long, because at that point I felt so lost. And through all of this, I found a lot of hope. And I know that there's hope out there for all the people who are struggling, because they are, and I know they're struggling.
Well, the model that you and Lynn and others have set up are one of the models that we want to replicate everywhere that there is a military installation, because it's not just unique to what has often been termed the most troubled base in the system, the Joint Base Lewis McChord, but it's everywhere. And as a veterans claim agent, I receive all kinds of cries, basically, not just coming from the individual that you would think has the hidden wound of war. It's all those that have been close to the person who said, this person's different and I'm hurting. And how I got involved in EFT was I couldn't wait 2 years or 3 years to help the vet get the compensation for their injury while they were having the psychological injuries that was not only affecting them but affecting others. Mm-hmm. And then when I saw EFT, I thought, that is it. We need to give the people tools. And I'm so glad that you came. Lynn, you talked with Stuart, and I've met Stuart before. And how have, well, let you interview Stuart and just the whole thing there. And if you even want to do, tapping with him so he feels comfortable and not stressed out, feel free to. We'll tap along too.
I'm feeling well, thank you.
That's great. About our third week in Lakewood, you happened onto our group. I think that maybe Donna even grabbed you and sat you down, quite literally. And we sat around outside, I remember, in a circle, and you had just had some surgery in your arm. What was that EFT session like?
Well, I was introduced to EFT in a hospital after I came back from Afghanistan. I was having some issues and was in a hospital down in Oregon. A therapist there had introduced me to the technique, and I hadn't done it in quite a while. I had a surgery, and by the grace of God, ran into Donna and at the library, and pulled me in, introduced me to most of you all, and it was kind of refamiliarization for me at that point to quite literally tap into something that I hadn't experienced for a little while, and it really made a difference.
Well, as I recall, you were having a really acute pain going right where you had
I had a bad nerve in my elbow.
Yes.
And some nerves in my hand that were
and
messed up.
we asked you on a scale of 1 to 10, well, how bad was that? And you were at about an 8. And then we did a couple of rounds, and it went down to about a 5. And you said, oh, it's tingling instead of being acute. And then it went down to, I remember, you said it was 0.5, and we were wondering, how did you get 0.5?
Because it was such a drastically different feeling from where I began to where I stopped. In just a short amount of time, a physical pain was so negligent that it was almost hardly noticeable. That's why the 0.5 kind of stuck there.
Right, right.
So Lynn's bringing up a way that we measure as we apply the technique, which is what we call the SUDS, and we use a scale of 0 to 10 to understand what's your pain, from 0, which is none, or what's your pain or discomfort, which 0 is none, and 10 being unbearable.
And why is that important for we who tap to know what a SUDS level is for a person we're helping?
We want to make sure that we're being effective, right? If the SUDS is not coming down, then we're either not really hitting the point. Not that we're not tapping the same points, we are, but we're not hitting the emotional crescendo. We're not hitting the point that is connected to the discomfort, right?
Right. Exactly. And SUDS stands for Subjective Units of Disturbance.
We all have our key words that we sometimes throw around there, and that's true.
And the beautiful thing is when we demonstrate EFT, what we normally do is look for somebody who will be a volunteer, because pain is very tangible. When we talk about the mental or emotional discomfort, is it reflected in somebody's life? Absolutely. Pain is very tangible. You know if it's there or if it's not. So a lot of people, it's kind of freaky when we can tap out someone's pain in a matter of moments, and they're like, okay, that's been around for 20 years. What'd you do? You distracted me. Oh yeah, well, we'll call it whatever you want, but let's just show you how this works.
Can I jump in there too? And about physical pain is quite often we find that there's a pain and it's somebody's feeling about something or someone, and so we're going, that anger, that headache anger, and it just vanishes or it goes way down. So a lot of times we're tapping on the emotional component of a physical pain, and it really does make a difference.
Lo, would you demonstrate with one of our trained people who may have an issue that would come to you, and you could sort of demonstrate how you, as an EFT coach, and you can pretend you're even on Skype if you want.
Sounds great. Any volunteers? Okay, Lynn?
Okay.
I see that hand raised.
Yes.
Okay, so you bring up an important point. A lot of times, if you'll just go ahead and tap along with me, a lot of times even while we're processing or trying to understand where we're going to focus, I do have people start at the beginning point. The beginning point when we're doing EFT is what we call the karate chop point, which is this point right here, which opens up our mind to new opportunities, let's call it. If you'll repeat after me, and if everybody can also repeat after me, what's real important here, Lynn, is that we be accurate. So if I'm not using words that you would use or that describes what you're experiencing, then help me understand better, okay? So although I have this radiating pain, at the base of my neck,
at the base of my skull.
Of your skull, is that accurate? Thank you. At the base of my skull, at a 6.
At a 6.
I am open to, tell me what you're open to.
I'm open to releasing that pain.
Okay, I'm open to releasing that pain. And I still, deeply and completely, love and accept myself.
Love and accept myself.
Now it's important for me to check in at this point. Is it accurate for you to say that you deeply and completely love and accept yourself?
Yes.
Okay. So with a
Wouldn't
lot
have
of
been before EFT, but
right. So with a lot of my clients, I do have to check in with that, because people say, you know what, that statement is not true for me. And so we might need to adjust it, that I still am open to learning how to deeply and completely
Well,
love
and with veterans, I use the term honor and respect because that's
Absolutely.
terms they understand.
Absolutely. Okay, great. We say the setup statement 3 times, all right? So although I have this pain at a 6,
Although I have this pain at a 6,
this radiating pain,
this radiating pain
at the base of my skull,
at the base of my skull,
I am open to,
I am open to
what are you open to?
Releasing this pain.
I'm open to releasing this pain, and I still, deeply and completely, love and accept myself.
love and accept myself.
So, in which direction is it radiating?
It's radiating out.
Okay. All right. And so, one more time with the setup statement. So, although I have this outwardly radiating pain,
Although I have this outwardly radiating pain
at the base of the right side of my skull,
at the base of the right side of my skull,
at a 6,
at a 6,
I am open to,
I am open to
releasing this pain immediately.
releasing this pain immediately,
and I still, deeply and completely, love and accept myself.
love and accept myself.
Tapping in between your eyebrows. This radiating pain.
This radiating pain,
This pain at the base of my skull.
this pain at the base of my skull.
Nice deep breath in. We're not in a hurry. This radiating pain.
This radiating pain,
This pain at the base of my skull.
this pain at the base of my skull.
Now, this is what we call a reminder phrase. And so basically, you know, as long as it's at the forefront of your brain of what we're focusing on, that's what the reminder phrase is for, right? So that we can clear that system. We tap through all the points underneath your arm. We tap through all the points because all the points represent something different, meridian system and emotionally, right? So you don't have to remember which point is connected with this. You don't have to be an expert. And Gary Craig has offered this to the field. Roger Callahan initiated, it was called TFT. Gary Craig made it much more palatable, much easier to understand, and made it more generic by identifying these tapping points. This radiating pain.
This radiating pain,
This pain at the base of my skull.
this pain at the base of my skull.
So Lynn, who's the pain in your neck right now?
It's a little monkey on my shoulder that wants me to get more done than I can possibly do.
Okay, this monkey on my shoulder.
This monkey on my shoulder.
I'll get to it when I can.
I'll get to it when I
There's
can.
plenty of time.
There's plenty of time.
Get off my back.
Get off my back.
Okay, good. So at this point, you know, what I would want to do is I'd want to check in, right? And so I would ask Lynn, so on a scale of 0 to 10, where do you feel that this pain is? Is it the same pain is something I want to understand? Is it in the same place? And what's the intensity on the scale of 0 to 10?
Well, it's in the same place.
Okay.
It's kind of throbbing now. Not,
Okay.
but not more. It's actually less. It's probably down to about a 4.
Okay.
It's just kind of throbbing instead of radiating.
Okay. So this gives us a great opportunity to understand when I'm going to do the second round, basically in the same place, if everyone will just tap along with me, all right? We're going to acknowledge that it's still there, all right? So although I still have this pain.
Although I still have this pain,
It no longer radiates.
it no longer radiates.
It's now throbbing.
It's now throbbing
At the base of my skull.
at the base of my skull.
At a 4.
At a 4,
I am open to.
I am open to
What are you open
Releasing this pain and letting the monkey jump off.
to? Releasing this pain and letting the monkey jump off my back. All right? And I still. Deeply and completely. Love and accept myself.
love and accept myself.
You know, now, we're using a pretty lengthy setup statement. Does it have to be this complicated? Absolutely not. We'll demonstrate that. So although I still have this pain.
although I still have this pain.
At the base of my skull.
At the base of my skull.
I still deeply and completely.
I still deeply and completely
love and accept myself.
love and accept myself.
So although I have this remaining pain.
Although I have this remaining pain.
It's a little better.
It's a little better.
It's at a 4.
It's at a 4.
I'm willing to let it go.
I'm willing to let it go.
Monkey off my back.
Get the monkey off my back.
Got plenty of time.
Got plenty of time.
I still deeply and completely.
I still deeply and completely
love and accept myself.
love and accept myself.
This pain at the base of my skull.
This pain at the base of my skull.
Side of eyebrows, this pain.
This pain.
Nice deep breath in. This pain.
This pain.
Under your nose, I easily let it go.
Easily let it go.
Easily release.
Easily release. This pain.
Underneath this pain.
This pain.
And top of your head, this pain.
This pain.
Okay. So let's check back in with it. Help me understand, is it the same pain? Is it in the same place? And what's the intensity?
It's in the same place. It's down to about a 2, maybe even under a 2. 1.8.
Thanks, Stuart. Okay, good. So, I think we're just going to leave it there. I do, look to get it 2 or below at the very least. I think in order to get it below that at this point, I'd probably have to get pretty in depth, and this might not be the place for it. But because what we're looking to do here is demonstrate. So demonstrate what EFT looks like, what it sounds like. And it's really just that simple. It's simple in technique, but very deep in results.
Thank you, Lil. And I want to thank our panel for participating with us and our viewing audience for tapping along, because one of the things that we want to encourage people to tap along is that you will gain what we call the borrowed benefits. Because though we were tapping with you, we were tapping for ourselves too. And you probably knew that, but we were all dealing with our own issues, and we can relieve some of the stress, some of the pain that we have. Well, I want to encourage our viewing audience to watch the credits at the end of this program so that you will receive more help to know about the Veteran Stress Project, to know about the Wounded Warriors or the Warriors Wellness Project, and also to Google EFT or Emotional Freedom Techniques. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.